Diseases and epidemics have affected humans from the very dawn of time. In this video essay, we will discuss the history and impacts of AIDS and yellow fever.
Section 1. The Jungle.
AIDS stands for Acquired Immune Deficiency Syndrome. There are two kinds of AIDS, HIV-1 and HIV-2. The origins of HIV can be found in non-human primates in West Central Africa. The disease is believed to have evolved from SIV or simian immunodeficiency virus. The historical epicenter of the two kinds of AIDS can be found in the chimpanzee for HIV-1 and the Sudi-Mangabe for HIV-2. Evidence suggests towards hunter theory, in which the disease had come from bushmeat practices. Hunters would often eat any game they could find, and due to colonization, monkeys may have been the only game available. After consumption, the meat would start contaminating people or expose forms of SIV, which could have mutated when it spread to more hosts. HIV-2 is thought to have spread a similar way through a different simian, the Sudi-Mangabe. There are 4 strains of HIV-1. Scientists have created a widely accepted explanation of the 4 strains of AIDS, MNOP. Its basis stems from the belief that as populations continue to move along and separate, the same strains evolve differently, developing their own unique RNA.
Medical malpractice post-World War II may have been prominent during mass vaccinations and could be an explanation of how it spread so quickly in just a century. Genetic evidence suggests that the disease had come from Africa to Haiti to America.
Currently, there is no legitimate cure or vaccine for AIDS. However, certain drugs are known to slow down or diminish AIDS and its symptoms. A major impact of AIDS is that even to this day, there is still a stigmatization of the LGBT community and racial minorities.
Segment 2. American Plague. Yellow fever begins with a fever and muscle pain. The victims then become jaundiced as their liver and kidneys cease to function normally. This is also the cause of the yellow pigmentation of the victim's skin and sclera, the white of the eye. The internal bleeding, as a result, then causes bloody vomit. Some of the victims then suffer even worse symptoms before dying. Like many diseases, yellow fever was spread by mosquitoes. The first outbreaks were in the Caribbean on the island of Barbados in 1647, and Guadeloupe a year later. The ecology of these islands had changed drastically with the introduction of sugar by the Dutch. The same later happened to bigger islands like Cuba and Jamaica. This may have attributed to the spread of yellow fever. In 1684, the Spanish colonists reported an outbreak in Mexico that may have been yellow fever. Around 25 major outbreaks followed in America. In 1793, refugees from a yellow fever epidemic in the Caribbean fled to Philadelphia, and within weeks, people throughout the city caught the virus. Yellow fever was so deadly that it killed 100 people per day, and Philadelphia's local government collapsed from caring for all the victims. This epidemic in Philadelphia alone killed 9% of the city's population in total. Eventually, a cold front eliminated most of the mosquito population, and the death toll fell to only 20 people per day. Today, yellow fever is prevented with vaccines. However, 2,000 people still die every year from yellow fever. You should get your vaccines, kids.
Often, events that have occurred in the past have repercussions so large that their effects can still be felt today, rippling the waves of history socioeconomically through channels like hunger, poverty, and crime. While both epidemics have seen breakthroughs in treatments and preventions, both are still major public health problems around the world. This is especially prominent in African countries with limited healthcare and sanitation. One of the biggest effects of AIDS and yellow fever that remains even today are of its stigmatisms and impacts on Africa, creating harmful stereotypes and connotations around the continent. It just goes to show that even with revolutions in medical care and technology, diseases thought to have been taken care of long ago can still be at large somewhere else in the world.
Oh, it really? It's upside down!